I want to share a really powerful model on the difference between striving for excellence over perfection because I see this a lot. And I worked with someone that was always striving for perfection. And what it was doing to their game was they wasn't enjoying their football. They were constantly freezing in big games under pressure, regardless of the results of the performance they had. They were so critical of themselves, right? They would be down for days and they just was not enjoying their football. And after working with this over a period of time, the parents kind of said it was like a weight lifted off their shoulders, that they were playing for a lot more freedom. They were just enjoying their football and they were progressing a lot better than they were when they was constantly striving for perfection. So let me share this with you. So when I asked this person, like, what is absolute perfection on a football pitch? Well, that's operating at 100%. Okay, cool. That's great. Now, when you've had your very best games, what would you say that you was operating at? This person said, well, I would say about 90%. Okay, I said, that's cool. We'll go with 90%. Now explain to me when you've played at your very worst, what would that be out of 100? He said, well, 60. And I said, so when you're at your very best, you're at 90. When you're at your very worst, or when you're struggling, you're at 60. Yeah. And what this person was trying to do is, regardless of how well they were playing, how bad they were playing, they were constantly trying to strive for perfection, right? 100%, which, as we all know, is unattainable. It's not a realistic goal. You know, you're never going to have the perfect game. There's always going to be mistakes. There's always going to be missed passes or missed tackles. It's never going to be absolutely perfect. So what I've got this person to do is, look, let's remove this 100%. We're not striving for 100%. If you're operating at 90%, that is fantastic. If we're operating at 90%, that is great. You can walk off with your head held high. You can say, look, I've done well, fantastic, great. That's brilliant, 90%. But when you're performing at your very worst, what we want to do is we just want to try and bridge that gap between 60 and 90 and get as close to that as possible versus trying to go from 60 to 100, which is unobtainable, that is, you know, near on impossible for any human being because no one's perfect. You're never going to be absolutely perfect. So once they got this shift that 90% was fantastic, they were playing like brilliant. But when they was at 60% and they could focus on, well, if I could just get to like 70 or 80, 90, then that was a game changer for them. What they've done is they dropped this idea of absolute perfection, and we focused on this 90% here is the area of excellence. That is when you're performing at excellence.